Can Caleb Williams still set the Bears franchise record in passing yards this season? We're going to be talking about all that and more tonight on CHGO Bears After Dark with Joey Christopoulos and, of course, NFL Network's Adam Rank. Let's go. Welcome back to CHGO Bears After Dark, presented by ComEd. Appreciate ComEd, always helping us keep the lights on CHGO Bears After Dark. Make sure you hit up ComEd.com/biz for all your energy needs. That's right, I said ComEd.com/biz. We appreciate you hanging out here tonight. I am your host, Greg Bragg Jr. Alongside me once again is Joey Christopoulos in a dark studios, at the CHGO Sports Studios in the West Loop in Chicago. I'm at my house. Adam Rank will be joining us here shortly. But we got a lot to talk about, Joey. Got a lot to talk about. It's kind of a weird, like last week was Misery Monday, right? Last week was Misery Monday. The Patriots loss was like Armageddon. The Cardinals Monday, that was just embarrassing. The Washington Monday after the Hail Mary was just
Chernobyl.
Yeah,
Chernobyl.
like I don't know what level Code Reds were at, but this Monday after the loss, even on the wings of a 5-game losing streak, I don't know if we're just going delirious at this point from the different ways we're losing games, because the Bears lose in overtime, ladies and gentlemen. But it just feels like that isn't the story. The story isn't that they've lost 5 in a row. The story isn't that they lost in overtime. The story isn't that they got another field goal blocked. The story is we got ourselves a quarterback. And it's like, I think it's just one of those things, Joey, right, where we just keep waiting for that eureka moment. We thought we had it in Jacksonville where Caleb Williams throws for 4 touchdowns. The Bears moved to 4-2, and then reality had slapped us in the face over and over and over and over. And now all of a sudden, Thomas Brown becomes the offensive coordinator, and the last 2 games, all of a sudden that number 1 pick is starting to look like that number 1 pick.
Yeah, and Braggs, man, when you talk about vital signs week to week with the Chicago Bears, I just got to be honest with myself, man. Like that game yesterday, it was going exactly how every single Flus week has gone this season of, oh yeah, we got another field goal blocked. Oh yeah, we're screwing it up on 4th down. We've got half the unit of special teams kick a field goal in. We got the other half wanting to go for it on 4th down. We barely get the playoff. We don't convert. And then I'll be honest, Braggs, man, you're right, dude. That game, at one point, it gave me a pulse. It made me emotional and happy and vibrant in ways that I haven't felt like with the Chicago Bears in actually quite some time, to be honest with you. And look, I'm not here to like pump up like moral victories or anything, but the fact that just watching Caleb yesterday, honestly, I'll say it, take over that game yesterday, put it on his shoulders. And it was honestly like, give him the ball and get the F out of the way. It was one of those moments. It was like watching, look, I'm going to be tough on comparables, but we'll stay in Chicago sports. But it was like early on Derrick Rose where, man, he's hit like 8 or 9 shots in a row. And no matter what happens, you want D Rose shooting it. And sure, maybe he took that coverage sack and maybe D Rose hit that open 3. But he was feeling it, man. Like he had the heat check going and he was trying to go out there and win a football game. And Braggsman, you said on the post game yesterday, there's so much chaos with this season and there's so much to dive into on the detail side. But fundamentally and simplistically, if you break it down, you said it. Caleb good, Flus bad. These are actually things for the future of the Chicago Bears I can wrap my head around. And, dude, yesterday I was pumping my fist, dude. Like, I was getting, like, chills. When he delivered that pass to DJ Moore, man, I had straight chills. So these are good things to feel about if you're a Bears fan.
No question about it. No question about it. And you're just now it's like this curiosity that is growing with this Thomas Brown, Caleb Williams connection. And Caleb Williams comes out of the post-game presser and says, you know, it's his aura. And then he tells the story of Thomas Brown telling him in the headset, you know, on those final few plays, you know, when they needed him the most as the game was basically lost, well, go be Superman is what Thomas Brown told him in the headset. And, Shane Waldron's going to just keep catching strays, and that's because he's the guy out, and that's what's changed here. And you even heard DJ Moore say today at the Monday pressers, like it's a different vibe going on. It's different, there's a different feel in the locker room, and you're feeling that. So like this curiosity with who Thomas Brown can be for the Chicago Bears and Caleb Williams. I don't think anybody really a month ago, even as we were ready to run Eberflus out the door then, we weren't looking at Thomas Brown as a potential head coaching candidate. And I brought it up last week, even before the game against Minnesota, that Bears fans need to start paying attention to this scenario. I'm not handing him the keys by any means, but at the same time, like he has as good of he has a better opportunity than any coach that wants to. There's, people say Ben Johnson, Albert Breer put out on David Kaplan's show, that Ben Johnson wanted to had interest in the Bears last offseason, and so like, but Thomas Brown has an opportunity here that Ben Johnson doesn't have. He can get the favoritism, he can get in the good graces of the number one pick, the quarterback, the franchise of the Chicago Bears right now. So, what you've seen from Thomas Brown, I fans tell me it's one game, it's 2 games. Are we getting ahead of our skis with the consideration that Thomas Brown could potentially be the head coach here in Chicago?
Well, Briggs, I would say that this conversation is like a lasagna, right? There's some layers to this thing, right? But I think let's just start with some of the things that I think we can glom from what's going on at House Hall. And I'm willing to say that they seem like that they're factually true at this time. Like, for one, you said it, like it looks like the players are gravitating towards Thomas Brown. When Caleb Williams uses the word aura, look, these are intangibles that, as human beings, we can't really always put our finger on. But when someone walks into a room and everyone wants to pay attention to them, that means something. That is tangible. And that is something that goes in Thomas Brown's favor. Mm-hmm. The other part about it that's been so interesting is that, in my opinion, I think you said a little bit this too on CHGO Bears on the shows, that I feel like Thomas Brown has done an amazing job of slowing Caleb down to then speed him back up. He was almost like an engine that was like overheating with maybe information or expectation. And he didn't have a driver like Shane Waldron that had any interest in really knew nothing about the car, right? I think he was just trying to push different buttons to see if they would work. And I think Thomas Brown has done such a good job of ramping him down with just the competent play calling that we saw against Green Bay. And then this week, speed him back up. And each week, second week in a row, Braggs, where I feel like that Thomas Brown empowers Caleb Williams, puts him in a position that says, look, we're either going to make these mistakes, but we're going to get as far as you want to take us. And I think those are great qualities in a coach, and I think those are qualities we'll want to see in a head coach. Now, do I think that he's a long-term fit? I'm not so sure, but I'm intrigued to see, right? And the opportunity that we wouldn't have with Ben Johnson is we can actually give him some games to run the operation if it came to it. And why wouldn't you take that chance? If you're going to interview this guy, if he's going to be a candidate, why don't you let him run the team for 8 to 12 quarters?
You get a month interview process. There's 6 games left. Okay, you don't want to fire your head coach, on a short week. Well, on Black Friday, you got 5 games left. And you could give a 5-game interview. Yeah, that's as good of an interview as you're going to find out, because we don't know. Kanye West is nice enough to join our chat, and honored, I love your work, Kanye, and appreciate you joining the show. But Thomas Brown, happy Thanksgiving. Thomas Brown, he says, Thomas Brown is a Band-Aid to a big problem. He is so good at OC that Caleb had more rush yards than Swift yesterday. I think he's being facetious here. Talk about overreacting, he says. Head coach needs to bring in a coaching staff. Can he do that? And that's a fair question, because you look at when Matt Eberflus came here, I don't think Luke Getsy wasn't somebody that necessarily had like ties the way you normally see a coaching staff get built. And then you see this whole new offensive coach. None of these offensive coaches, Shane Waldron, who's now been shown the door, he didn't have any ties to Matt Eberflus either. And the rest of this offensive staff, Thomas Brown included. So these aren't Matt Eberflus guys. This isn't a Matt Eberflus tree. And how many different coordinators have been fired, in the Matt Eberflus tenure? I think it's up to 8 or 9. But, Kanye, it is a fair question, but I also would be willing to hear who he had in mind. I mean, this is a guy that comes from, not just last year with the Panthers. Everybody wants to point to the failures that he and the staff in Carolina had with Bryce Young, but he comes from the LA Rams with Sean McVay, who, where he was the assistant head coach for a team that won a Super Bowl. So, Sean McVay obviously speaks highly of him as somebody that worked right alongside him. So I wouldn't expect any different. But at the same time, it's certainly something, and he's gotten, head coaching interviews in the past. So it's not like, this is just pulling out of thin air. He's already been in consideration for jobs like this before. And then obviously, anybody on the staff last year with Carolina, their reputation took a little bit of a hit. So you kind of have to hit the reset button. And maybe Thomas Brown, I identified the Bears as the perfect type of team to, try to hit the reset button on and try to, but they're all these coaches are trying to find their way to becoming a head coach. So what's the best pathway for you if you're Thomas Brown? All these guys, Shane Waldron, Thomas Brown, Kerry Joseph, they're all trying to saddle up to Caleb Williams because he might lend them a road to becoming a head coach one day. And, maybe Thomas Brown didn't realize it was going to happen as fast as it is now, but now all of a sudden even if the Bears don't give him the interim head coaching job like I think they should, and I think that Adam Hogue and the rest of us here tomorrow, I think we're going to be talking about this, before we get to the game on Thursday. But at the same time, like, even if he doesn't get the head coaching job, Joey, for the rest of the year, he still has a huge opportunity as the offensive coordinator to not just show the Bears what he's capable of, but show the rest of the league. If the Bears then clean house and he's also a part of that, somebody's going to pick him up if he finishes this year doing a good job with Caleb. I mean, think about all the rookie quarterbacks coming in next year. So this seems like somebody that you'd want to be working with a young quarterback. I mean, people are downgrading. Oh, it's been 1 or 2 games. He comes in here after Shane Waldron gets fired on like a Tuesday and has a short week against Green Bay in a system that really isn't all his. They didn't just throw away the entire offensive playbook and now here's Thomas Brown's playbook. He had to work around the parameters of which this team was already doing and then put stuff in that he thinks they need to do. So any fan downgrading what he did because it's only one game. That one game against Green Bay was really impressive. And then he backs that up against a Minnesota Vikings defense that is very tough and a performance with the offense and Caleb Williams that was twice as impressive. And so the first time the Bears have scored first on their opponent all year. So it's interesting. My curiosity is piqued. I understand the other candidates that are out there, but man, like, I just think some fans are selling Thomas Brown short because we're all just so, disgusted with everything that's associated with this Bears coaching staff right now.
Yeah, and we have to get back, we have to get off of certain perceptions and stuff. Let's be very clear. I'm of the mindset of we need to cast as wide of a net and be as you said, as curious as we possibly can with all of these choices. And if Thomas Brown could possibly be a candidate to be interviewed, then we should maybe think about giving him an opportunity. Now, look, I want to be very fair before we go to break that, there's been a lot of interim head coaches that got the real gig. And over the last 25 years, I did the work. It is very, very few of them actually went on to succeed, and they really didn't succeed also. But there's other interim head coaches that got the gig for a stretch, got a second gig somewhere else, and became good head coaches. So it's a little bit hard to kind of pick and parcel out about it. But the idea is If something's good, continue to explore it, Bears fans. Don't knock it to the side. Keep an open mind. I'm not advocating for Thomas Brown, but I'm advocating, casting as wide net as possible and turning over every single stone to get it right.
Yeah, Tony Moy in the chat says Caleb can still come close to 4,000 yards if he goes at a higher pace, with a crying face emoji. So maybe he doesn't believe that'll happen. We're going to be talking about that here coming up after the break. If you're watching here on YouTube, please hit that like button while you hang out. We appreciate everybody joining us. Adam Rank will be joining us here in just a few moments. And like I said, we're going to go over the chance that Caleb Williams has to break the Bears franchise record and maybe even get to 4,000 yards. Seems a little lofty, but I'm going to show you the math on how he can get there. But first, want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors here at CHGO Bears After Dark, and we appreciate everybody that sponsors this fine program, including our friends over at CHSN. CHSN is the proud home of the Bulls, Blackhawks, and White Sox. So make sure you're tuned in to CHSN, and we're proud to be sponsored by CHSN. CHSN will broadcast more than 300 live games per year across the Blackhawks, Bulls, and White Sox, and will feature a full lineup of original Chicago-focused sports content. They're also Chicago-based, Chicago-built, and Chicago to the core, and they're bringing it to every corner of Chicago across our 77 neighborhoods and beyond. At CHSN, Chicago comes first. Visit chsn.com for more info on how to watch the Bulls, Blackhawks, and White Sox all season long. Also want to hit up my friends and say thank you to our friends over at CIRCA Sports Illinois. They are some great people over there at CIRCA Sports. Been loving working with them, including our Friday 120 clubs. Can't wait to get back to warm weather in the bleachers, Joey.
Please.
We'll be there before you know it. But CIRCA Sportsbook, whether it's pro or college, the app to bet football is CIRCA Sports Illinois. CIRCA Sports, it's sports betting the way it should be. CIRCA Sports Illinois has high betting limits, low holds, and exceptional customer service. Bet on all your favorite teams in every game this season. Spreads, props, futures, or in-game, CIRCA Sports has it. Fund and bet like a pro from anywhere, anytime in Illinois. Download your new bookie today at circasports.com. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER all day long. We appreciate you guys over at CIRCA Sports. And as I tease to you, joining the program once again here on CHGO Bears After Dark is the one and only NFL Network's very own Adam Rank.
Or text ILGAMB to 233234. That's the CIRCA Sports app. Sports betting the way it should be.
Look at that. The pros pro.
Dunking it.
I love it. Just came in. I threw the alley-oop like Dwayne Wade. And then there comes LeBron for the jam. The California man, Adam Rank. I don't know, man. Like I was saying to start the show, it's kind of a weird Monday. We've been so down and gloomy here and maybe we're just getting delirious after 5 weeks of different way, finding every different way to lose. But I don't know. I'm sensing a little bit of hope in Bears Nation. I even have a little pep in my step today. I found myself at the gym for the first time in months. So I don't know. All of a sudden, there's just like this rejuvenation I'm feeling within myself, and I'm feeling across the Bears fan spectrum.
Yeah, you just need to do push-ups, pull-ups, and walk, and that's what you do. That's the philosophy. You don't need to go out there. Listen, I don't want you to go to the rack, grab the 80s, and start doing dumbbell presses or anything like that. You don't need that anymore. We're not young men. And so I'm with you. I was on the NFL Fantasy Live show, and I posted this clip on my socials just a moment ago before coming on, is I want to be happy. And I truly believe that if we were in a season where, let's say Thomas Brown was our head coach, and we were going through and Caleb's playing like this and we're losing here or there, you're like, yeah, okay, but we're building towards something. We still know there needs to be another shoe to drop, so to speak, before we can truly anticipated. It's like, yeah, I'm ready for bed. I have my pajamas on, but there's still people downstairs hanging out, drinking tequila. Like, what is going on? Get this guy out of my house. Like, why are you still here? And I know he's, oh no, I'm just hanging out till Thursday for us to get blown out by the Lions, and then I'll totally be gone. And you're like, okay, let's see. But there is momentum. And I think that once you go back and just start looking at throws and looking at tape, and I had an opportunity to speak with Daniel Jeremiah today because we did cross paths because the Chargers are playing host to the Baltimore Ravens tonight on Monday Night Football. And so he's like, oh, you got the quarterback. Like he's the guy. Like you see the throws, you see everything of it. And I want to be very excited about that. And I think right now, would I rather be the team who's it hasn't been great so far this season, but it looks like our quarterback's the real deal, or is it do you want to be the guy whose team just lost to Cooper Rush? I don't know. I don't know, but I feel good about it. And I don't mean to be, but I'm starting to see a little positivity, guys.
I don't blame you. I mean, and feel free to jump in here, Joey, but I'm curious what you guys think here, because now I'm all of a sudden looking at the numbers.
Yeah.
Looking at the numbers, right? And it's funny because, we kind of given up. The first number that hit during the game is Caleb Williams just broke the Bears all-time rookie record for passing yards in a season. Not a high bar. Wasn't that hard to pass. He now sits at 2,356 passing Justin Fields here, during that game. So again, not a high bar here in Chicago to break records, but it certainly is interesting what he's capable of here. And so for the remainder of the year to hit 4,000 yards, this is the top. We're gonna start at the top.
I was gonna say, what about the 38? Yeah.
He has to average 274 yards per game to get 4,000 yards. He just threw for 340 against the Minnesota Vikings. Joey, this is a breeze. 274 against the rest of these bums. We just did it against the Vikings. This is a walk in the park.
Well, I'm sorry. What's the franchise record? Is it 38-18 or something?
So the franchise record. So I like this. I like where your head is at. The franchise record is Eric. Okay, that's where then you know what? Permission. You know what? Request granted. Eric Kramer in 1995 threw for 3,838 yards. He also has the touchdown record, I believe, as well. So in a single season, of course. So 3,838 yards. And some of my friends here on Twitter were doing some of the math. He needs to do 200. He has to average 248 passing yards per game to break Eric Kramer's record. I'll start with you, Joey. Can he do it? Will he?
Adam,
will he?
Yeah, from a fantasy perspective, Adam, that's a little bit more manageable, right, than the 274 number, in my personal opinion. I think the thing that gives me optimism, let's play the optimism card first, is I don't think we're going to his name shall not be mentioned by me no more on After Dark, our previous offensive coordinator. I think we're past the days, hopefully, where we're seeing those 130, 145 passing yard numbers on a week-to-week basis. And I think a lot of us probably believe that there are going to be opportunities for the Chicago Bears to be playing from behind in a lot of these games. So those two components give me some optimism. The other one, too, as well, is that something that I don't think Chicago Bears quarterbacks have really done in this town recently is Caleb Williams finishes games. He plays strong fourth quarters. As we've noticed, he tends to make things a little interesting from an offensive perspective. So I do want to be optimistic. I still think, Adam, that 248 number is too high, though. What say you?
No, I don't. Mostly because I think there'll be some games where he throws like 212 or do whatever like that. But when he matches up against the Seahawks, the ghost of the 49ers, and they get the Vikings again indoors, there's going to be some real opportunities to go out there and make some plays. And I think the most impressive thing for me was that a lot of people going into this contest were like, you know what? Brian Flores just messes with young quarterbacks and he makes them look stupid. And one of the things that Thomas Brown had said is like, we're not going to play scared. We're not going to be afraid of a coordinator. And I fully anticipate this week against the Lions that they're not going to play scared, and they're certainly not going to be worried about this Lions defense. And there will come a time where Caleb makes some reckless throws. And I even he might have gotten away with a couple here and there where he's going to eventually make an interception. Like that's the thing that's like even more ridiculous is that he's not throwing picks. And when I look at some of these other quarterbacks and you're like, yeah, he's not throwing picks. Here's the thing. I guess, Greg, I'll just answer the question. I think the franchise mark is in dire circumstance. I really do. 4,000 yards. That's a bit robust. And I'm going to put that on Shane Waldron. And honestly, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with it.
140 yards more, Adam.
I understand.
It's nothing. It's nothing.
I understand, but listen, it is a mythical number that has not been reached by the Chicago Bears. So I don't want to sit here and just start being like, yeah, of course he's going to get it. Like that's the kind of thinking that builds casinos like CIRCA. Like there is a reason CIRCA stands so grand out of the desert on Fremont Street. It's because a lot of people going to like, I got it. Like I got my system.
In the bag.
This is super easy. So I do believe that he can do this. And I think that he's going to play some really good football down the stretch. I just find it interesting because there were some throws where you're like, oh God, that was a bad miss. That could have been like, yeah, like he missed one. Like, okay. And we obviously watch all these games. Now, I'm not saying you two guys in particular, but I'm going to say the majority of Bears fans do not sit here and watch every single game week in and week out. Because I'll tell you what, if you want to sit here, even the great ones, even Patrick Mahomes, throw some passes where you're like, where the hell was he throwing that? Like, what was he looking at? Like, I was watching Jaden Daniels yesterday, and I'm like, good Lord, that wasn't even close. But nobody talks about that. There were even Bo Nix made some misses. Josh Allen didn't play this week. There was one who, even Joe Burrow, like last week, you were like, good Lord, like, what's he doing? So I think that Caleb is now getting, like, people are overcritical of like, oh, he made this. Of course. But what was his completion percentage? Like, what did he do? Like, look at what he did in the fourth quarter. Look at the throws that he needed to make. And I pointed this out on the show, and I think it was one of the Keenan Allen throws where it's like early in the game where he trusts the window. It was an NFL window that he recognizes, like, you know what? This is as open as an NFL player gets. I got to throw this football. It was Emmanuel Acho also tweeted out like this thing of like when he slid the protection to the left and they had 3 high, like you don't normally throw it in the middle of the field and he throws a dot. So now he's making these big boy throws. So there's a lot of reason for optimism. And again, we don't want to do it because of the guy who's just coming along. And it's like, I think it might be too late to save yourself because like there's been some egregious things that have been happening. But I think as far as Caleb goes, yeah, I never had any worries, but I'm even more convinced now more than ever.
Well, it's just like I said to Joey to start the show. It's like we continue to like wait for this eureka moment. Like you said, Daniel Jeremiah is walking by you at the NFL Network studios. You got your guy. It's like it's just this weird thing because it's like, yeah, we know, like, yeah. But we keep getting spun through. It's like overreaction. The first 2 games, Caleb's a bust. Then the next month, Caleb isn't. Caleb has arrived. Then the Bears go on a losing streak. The team offense starts to tank. Shane Waldron gets fired. Caleb's back to being a bust. Now, 2 games later with Thomas Brown, Caleb Williams is now the best rookie quarterback, and that's how it always was supposed to be, and he is on pace for 4,000 yards. So we are just rolling with the punches of overreactions week to week, and I wouldn't have it any other way personally. It's fun to me. You gotta have some fun while we get through this season. It certainly isn't going the way we want from a win-loss perspective, so it's fun to dream with Caleb Williams. And Stephen D here in the chat points out, if Caleb averages just 219 yards the rest of the way, 5 per game more than he has, he'll be our number 3 all-time quarterback for passing yards in a season. So the list goes Eric Kramer with 3,838, Jay Cutler in 2014 with 3,812, and then third in the history of the Bears, not just rookies, in the history of Bears quarterbacks for a season, 3,666 yards. So Caleb Williams in his rookie year, as Stephen D points out, you talk about a manageable 219 yards per game just to get to number 3 all time. He's on pace for 3,641 currently, which would put him 5th.
He'll be the Bears all-time leading passer by week 8 next year.
Right. It goes without saying that. It's like if Thomas Brown had been here all year, what would the numbers look like? And you pointed it out a minute, Adam. So this is a nice segue. The interceptions not turning the ball over. How many quarterbacks have we had that Jay Cutler's first year, you talk about I was talking about this with Lance Briggs last night. And he asked me, like, how many years have ever been this hyped? And I was just like everybody's acting like this is the most hyped year ever. And I'm like, well, maybe you all forgot going into last year or going into 2019 or Jay Cutler's first year as a Bear or the year after they made it to the NFC champ. We do this every year going into the season for the most part, unless our quarterback's Matt Barkley, And so that's what I pointed out to him. Like, well, Jay Cutler, when we traded for Jay Cutler, and we were like, we do not care that he hasn't had any chemistry with his wide receivers or quarterback. We have our guy. And then he proceeded to throw 30 interceptions that year and 2 games where he had 5 interceptions in each game. One against the Packers and one, I believe, against the 49ers. Where I had a house party with my friends and I completely lost my mind. But that's a story for a different
How do you think it was like working with D'Angelo Hall all these years? Now you finally went to go join a coaching staff, but like we would do GMFB morning, and like every time I would be like reminded of like he picked off Jay Cutler 3 times in one game, him personally. It was always a rough scene. Yeah.
So now we have a quarterback who hasn't thrown an interception per Kevin Fishbane. He did the homework on this. Shout out to the Fishman.
Yes.
Hasn't thrown an interception in 5 games. And it's the first time a quarterback hasn't done that in Chicago Bears franchise history since 1932.
Yeah.
And even worse, even more bizarre of that stat is that the Bears are 0-5 during that stretch. Adam, explain this bizarro world that we're currently living in.
It's our head coach and our inability to win some games. Like that, that's the thing of like, I would even imagine that we would have had some games similar to like Arizona, maybe not New England, but the way, and I know ifs and nuts were candy and nuts, all that stuff. Like you look at these 3 games, and I'm talking about the Commanders game, the Packers game, and the Vikings game, like 3 so winnable games that if any coach would have had you focused in on this, like even watching college football over the weekend, and then anytime we're at the end of the half or the end of the game, these coaches calling timeouts to make sure, I'm like, Jesus, this is exactly what we started. This is going to be Matt Eberflus's legacy moving forward, is that so anytime you watch a game from now until infinity, for as long as you roam this earth, you will say a timeout before a Hail Mary play called by the defense, as long as they have one. And it's all because of Matt Eberflus and what he did. And even like sitting there watching, did you see the thing where it was they focused on Caleb Williams on the play, on the Hail Mary play, on his reaction, and I can't see what he's seeing, but it looks like he is gesturing to somebody like, get your head in the game, pay attention to what you do. Right. And I think this is one of the great things about Caleb Williams. And I hope that we see that his personality continues to shine through. And I know that he was mocked coming into the NFL draft process because he was very upset after a loss against Washington. And if these games have not driven him to tears, then nothing will. But it's like how much he's really busted this goes overlooked by everybody. Like how much he busted his ass to give us the lead in Washington, to put us in a position to win a game against the Packers, to give us an opportunity to win a game against the Minnesota Vikings. And granted, like he should not have taken that sack on 2nd down. He is a rookie Okay, afford them that play, because we have a punter who flipped the field, and our all-world defense and our coach, who is this defensive mastermind, allowed that squad to just, on a 1st and 20, drive all the way down the field. So I don't want to hear it anymore. Like I'm just tired of it. And it's just one of those things, like, he's not being rewarded for it. Like, I'm sitting here listening to this Commanders fan who was like, because I was making fun of him because they lost that game. And he's like, yeah, but Jaden Daniels rallied them even though they didn't win. I'm like, okay, hold the phone. Because a couple of weeks ago, that was not the story you were telling. You were like, Caleb's a bust. They didn't win. Right. I'm like, hey, it was all about wins and losses a month ago. And now you want to speak. Well, he put them in a position to it. They were losing 13-9 with 6 minutes to go in the fourth quarter against 20-9, as a matter of fact, against that dog-ass Cowboys team. So don't ever talk to me about this again.
They should be 6. They should be 6-6 if not for a Hail Mary. It should be 6-6.
We're the kings of position pablum over here. We know the position to be in. Don't tell us what we already know. Don't speak our words
exactly.
from your mouth.
They deserve it. They've had.
I could not. You know what's funny is a couple of weeks ago I had picked, because I love to fade the public. So when they were playing the Giants, I'm like, you know what? Nobody's picking the Giants. I'll pick the Giants. I'll flip my pick. And so I did it, and then the Commanders tweeted out a photo of it, like, hey, be sure to look at your kid's candy. You never know what you're going to get. And it was a little photo of my prediction. Very funny. The Commanders are now 0-3 since they did that. And today I asked, the showrunner for NFL Fantasy Live, I asked the social media team, I'm like, can I point out the fact that the Commanders are 0-3 since this? And they're like, maybe. I'm like, they started it. I didn't do anything. Like, I'm just sitting here minding my own business. They came after me.
You're just innocently picking against them, against the Giants.
No, I was fading the public. I picked them to beat the Cowboys. I actually didn't fade the public on that one because, and again, given an opportunity, like, hey, do you want? I'm like, okay, I like fading the public. There's no way that they should lose to this Cowboys team. Even Dan Quinn is not going to find. But by the way, like, I think we should start to look at Dan Quinn. When you talk about Matt Eberflus, Dan Quinn has the most horrific loss in NFL history. Should have lost that game against the Bears. Lost that game against the Cowboys. You can be like, well, the kicker missed it. You're like, well, why is the kicker in that position? That's your own fault. And anyways, go for 2, big guy. If you're going to put your hat on backwards, sorry, Greg, you should be able to go.
I just caught a stray. What the heck is
Sorry. You're not bald though. It's the bald guys with the backwards hats where you're like, yeah, no, you got to don't do that look. That's not a good look, Dan Quinn.
Oh man. Well, I guess, it's hard because there's so many different angles I want to take with this, and again, Joey, so like I am not being a great host tonight because I know this needs to be more of a roundtable, but I am curious, Adam, to hear your thoughts on where this is going with Thomas Brown. Me and Joey talked about it to start the show. And before I move into any other part of the conversation, if we want to talk about the defense or the special teams or whatever, or we can just gloss, fawn over Caleb Williams for the rest of the show, I'm completely fine with that. But I am curious to hear your thoughts on Thomas Brown here these last 2 weeks and the opportunity he has for the rest of the season to put his hat in the ring to become potentially the head coach of the Chicago Bears in 2025.
Well, you know what? I really wish we really need to get rid of Matt Eberflus after the Lions game. I know they won't if we win, but it's like, it's really an opportunity to be like, we can watch our next head coach go out and do his thing, because I do believe that you get an opportunity to judge somebody. Now, a couple of years ago, the Raiders had Rick Bisaccia, and he was great, got the Raiders to the playoffs, and they said, no, we're not going to do that. And they brought in John Gruden. And I know you and I both watched a John Gruden video a couple of weeks ago, and we're like, that sounds pretty good. But now that we're playing well, it doesn't, like, I don't want to do what the Raiders did. Like, I don't want to get rid of somebody who's being successful and be like, oh, John Gruden's going to come save us. Because then I went back and really studied it. I'm like, John Gruden like he really rode the coattails of like what Tony Dungy built in Tampa Bay, got his Super Bowl and then did nothing and then left and then got whatever. And then all this stuff goes on. So I'm like, I know that people will be like, well, look at what happened with the Raiders this time with Antonio Pierce. That's not working out well. Perhaps they should have gone outside the building, blah, 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 which makes sense. But here's why the Thomas Brown situation is a little bit different, is that he was an associate head coach for the Los Angeles Rams, a team that went on to win the Super Bowl. Right. So he has the chops. He has been interviewed for other jobs. Sean McVay certainly loves him. To me, he comes off more like Kevin O'Connell and less like Antonio Pierce. And we have an opportunity to go out there and give him a little bit of a head start to say, like, let's see what you can do. And let's see what you plan to do with this defense or whatever. And all that good stuff. So I'm really focused in on it because I know that everybody loves these guys. I know that everybody loves Ben Johnson. Let's bring us Ben Johnson. I'm like, you know what? Ben Johnson to me, we've seen this before. Yep. Like if for everybody's like, we can't get fooled again. Like we're going to do it again if we hire Ben Johnson, because like we've seen this before where like how much of what he does is successful because the Lions are so good, because Dan Campbell is so good. We really need that guy who's a leader of men. And to be honest, I don't know if Ben Johnson has, I don't know. I honestly just don't know because he's never been a head coach. He's never been an associate head coach. So for me, I would really love to give Thomas Brown the opportunity to either prove that he is or is not the guy. I want him to be the guy who's calling the timeouts, deciding if we go for it on fourth and all that kind of stuff. So we kind of get a sense of what he's all about. We're getting a pretty good glimpse of a lot of it, but I want to see the full package. And we need to kick off the training wheels and let Flus go. And it would have been great to start it this week, but I don't know. I'm willing to go.
It's tough, right, Joey? I mean, you've got he's up in the booth, so he's doing. He's got the bird's eye view of the offense. He's relaying the call down. He's got this offense in a rhythm. He's got Caleb Williams playing his best ball, of his young career. But in order to be a head coach, you got to be on the sidelines. You might have to put Kerry Joseph up in the booth for now. And so there's some risk there to lose the momentum you have offensively. So then maybe that skews how you look at Thomas Brown, because now all of a sudden the operation isn't as clean as it was. But like, is the juice worth the squeeze to you, Joey, that take that risk to see how he operates, managing the entire team and being on the sidelines and trying to still call plays and develop the quarterback all in one?
I think there's tremendous value in it. And if you want to think about it in another way, there's a lot of checks and balances you can do internally that also leads you to, this was a Matt Eberflus problem, and maybe this is a bigger problem with our coaching staff and maybe the way that we run our football program with Thomas Brown at the helm. And for me, I just think I want to see it. I think that there's an opportunity to see it, and then you'll know. So I was doing like some history really quick, gentlemen, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, but if you want to play a trivia game with me, you can go for it, or I can just throw it out for you. So how many NFL coaches were interim head coaches and then got the gig the very next year in the last 24 years since 2000? How many of those coaches made it to the playoffs after they were named interim and then named full-time head coach?
Does Bruce Arians count as part of this?
That's a great question. I did not count him in that, but if you did, that would then make it 4. That's a great one, though. I was like kind of on the fence with it because there's 3 that did it, that truly did it.
So we're trying to name these guys. Adam, you're better at this than me. What do you think?
And I'm trying to look.
2 of them are pretty tough. One of them is like, you're going to go, oh man.
Somebody was elevated. Was it somebody? Norv Turner wasn't on Schottenheimer's staff in San Diego. No.
No.
Hendricks is saying Raiders guy now. Antonio Pierce did get the job, but he didn't make the playoffs. Joey's asking what interim head coach that became a head coach then took their team to the playoffs. So this in their tenure as a head coach, I had only 3. I think Bruce Arians could be technically a 4.
Could be a 4. Well, he went to Arizona though, but he didn't.
Yeah, one of them was the coach for the team for about 9 or 10 years. I mean, they stuck with him in perhaps the NFC East. for quite some time after taking over a team that started out 1-7.
Ken P has Mike Ditka.
Was it like Terry Robisky or somebody like that?
Oh, Terry Robisky was one of them, but he did not make the playoffs.
No.
I am going to give you. I'm going to give you one of them right now.
Marvin Lewis.
Well, how about this?
Yeah.
Before you give the names,
Okay.
let's take a quick timeout.
Oh, teaser.
I like this is a teaser. So when we come back from this commercial break, you're going to hear the 3 names that Joey has for you of interim coaches that became the head coach and took their team to the playoffs. But first, make sure you subscribe to CHGO Sports. As always, we appreciate everyone tuning in. Make sure you hit the like button as well here. We appreciate all of your support. Want to give a shout out here quickly over to our guys over at Sunnyside. They've been killing it with us at our tailgates as well. And they've been just a great sponsor to us for a long time, and we appreciate them very much. Our friends at Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary are here to elevate your winter. Sunnyside is your home for judgment-free cannabis shopping. They have a crazy selection with over 100 different strains to choose from, with easy online ordering and in-store pickup. Wherever you are in Illinois, Sunnyside has a location for you. They have spots as far as south as Champaign and as far north as South Beloit. Stop in the nearest store for your expert guidance from their staff. They even got one up in Wrigleyville, right down the street from the marquee at Wrigley. I'm picking up some Cresco myself when I hit up Sunnyside. You can too by visiting sunnyside.shop for bright buys every day, including 50% off your first 3 online purchases. Enter the promo code HICHGO at checkout to qualify. Exclusions apply. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary, bright buys every day, only for 21 and older or Illinois medical card holders. Also want to give a quick shout out to our friends over at Game Time. Our guys at Game Time got me and Big Dave to the Bears-Packers game a couple weeks ago. Wasn't the finish we wanted, but certainly was a great time nonetheless. So shout out to Game Time. Make sure you use the code CHGO for $20 off. They have so many great features, curated deals to make it easier to find the best price on great seats. Their super deal is going to give you the best deal you possibly can get. Seat views before you buy. So when you go into their app, you can see exactly the vantage point that you're going to get from the seat that you pick. Lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection, job loss protection. So they take care of the people. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. And their all-in pricing thing is my favorite part about Game Time. Toggling this feature shows the total up front with no surprise fees at the checkout. A lot of these different ticket websites, they try to fool you with different dollar amount that you see on the screen. Then you click in 6 windows later, it's twice as much as you thought you were paying. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHGO for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHGO for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it?
Game time.
Game time.
That's what I'm all about here. Game Time here at CHGO Bears. Make sure you're hitting the like button. Subscribe to the channel. All those good things. Our guy, Joey Christopoulos, who's starting to become a mainstay here at CHGO Bears After Dark as a producer, and he's filling in here a couple weeks ago for Adam, and now Adam returns, and now Corey needed the night off with some family affairs to attend to. So Joey's been in the seat 2 weeks in a row. We appreciate you joining us as always, Joey. So you said before the break that you had 3 interim coaches that then went on to become head coaches, and then they made the playoffs. Who are those 3 coaches?
Correct. So the first one isn't very fair. So people in the chat, keep in mind, they took over mid-season at some point in the year, and then they were named full-time head coach the following year. So Mike Tomlin taking over for Bill Cowher does not count. So on and so on. Okay. First one, not very fair. Mike Tice took over for 1 game after they fired Denny Green, and then he took them to the playoffs with an 8-8 record. Lost to the Philadelphia Eagles in his second full season as head coach. And then, as we all know, Booze Cruise, a couple of other things, Mike Tice didn't quite work out for him. The second one, Also in Minnesota, Leslie Frazier took over for Brad Childress and then won 10 games 2 seasons later. A year after that, he was out and he was fired. And then the other one, guys, this is one's going to make you mad. 1-7, Wade Phillips in Dallas. In comes Jason Garrett. Goes 5-3 and then goes on to make the playoffs 3 times over the course of, I believe, 9 or 10 seasons. And my final just round out point on this whole thing is that on the other side of this, and to the Thomas Brown point, is that there were a lot of coaches that now have head coaching jobs in this league that got a first crack as an interim somewhere and landed somewhere else and worked out pretty well for them. Aside from the Mike Singletaries of the world, Raheem Morris, and more specifically, as we mentioned on the show, Dan Campbell took over for Joe Philbin with the Miami Dolphins, went 5-7. They did not retain him. A couple years later, he lands with the Detroit Lions, becomes the head coach that we know now. So it's an inexact science, even though an interim into a full-time head coach, there isn't a ton of history that it leads to sustained success.
Well, you also look too, though, like Matt Eberflus wasn't an interim head coach, and sometimes you just hire the wrong person. And so I think it's so I think it's just so difficult to hire head coaches. Like we're going to have a number of coaches fired this year. Then some guys are going to come in. They're going to be like, Matt Eberflus, Brandon Staley, somebody like that, who is not going to do very well. And nothing about it is perfect. Look at even like Doug Peterson, going down there. I guess they went to the playoffs last year. Right? Was it last year? Did they go to the playoffs with God, all the years are now starting to run together for me, but it's like nothing's guaranteed. Like retreads are not automatic, as Doug Peterson is proving out to be, college coaches. I guess both these are Jacksonville examples. Like it's really just difficult. And I think that if you end up finding somebody who you think exhibits the qualities that'll make him a good head coach, you got to go out and do it. I think Dan Campbell's the perfect example. I remember back in the day when Dan Campbell was the interim coach for the Miami Dolphins, I was doing a show called The Weekender, and it was a show. It was so funny because back in the day, they used to be like, don't let your show go longer than 2.5 minutes. You're like, geez, like that's not a lot of time. Now they want these elongated shows. But we used to like Dan Campbell was great fodder for us. We called him PC Principal from South Park and all that stuff. And you know what? Sometimes these guys just need to go out there and get their first opportunities as a head coach somewhere and just kind of prove themselves, because you just never know.
Well, I mean, this is what I'll continue to say, why my curiosity is piqued with Thomas Brown, because, as my faith in Matt Eberflus started to flounder, you look at, obviously, you're going to look at guys like Ben Johnson and Cliff Kingsbury and Joe Brady and Lincoln Riley and any offensive coach that has any kind of tie to Caleb Williams, because we all just want Caleb Williams to work out. So every time Daniel Jeremiah walks by Adam Rank, he tells Adam Rank that we've got our guy, because we've never had our guy and we just want our guy. And so that's what you look at. But then as the team started to melt down, and Ken P's taken off, so I want to give a shout out to him. $10 super chat from Ken P. He says, gotta run. Have a good one, gents. Thank you for the Bears content. Thank you, Ken P. Have a happy Thanksgiving. Hopefully you can tune in for our pre and post game show on Thursday. If not, enjoy that time with your family, and we appreciate your $10 super chat as well. But as the meltdown occurred with the Bears and the players are coming out to the media and saying, we have no discipline and we're not good with the details and they're not coaching us hard enough, then you start thinking about, like, maybe it isn't an X's and O's coach, and they need a leader of men. They need a Bill Belichick. They need a Mike Vrabel. They need that Dan Campbell type to get the most out of these guys during the week, so that they're dialed in and they have the respect of their head coach and a leader of men. Well, Thomas Brown checks both of those boxes as of right now. I mean, I understand it's 2 games, getting ahead of yourself. He's checking 2 boxes that we are identifying as the 2 main things we need in our head coach. And that is leader of men, someone that has respect in the locker room, and then somebody that calls plays and develops the quarterback. He does all of those things. So now we have to ask ourselves, is he the one? Is he the guy? Did we stumble into this through the darkness of the losing streak and the Hail Mary in Washington? Because it's never this easy in Chicago, right?
No.
And
never.
so we're like, No, absolutely not. And I'm like, well, is anybody considering, to your point, and it's, I think you, Joe, you really did a great job of pointing out, like, hey, Dan Campbell was an interim head coach in Miami, and now look at him. I'm sure Miami wishes they hadn't let him get away. And so, they're doing fine. Not saying they're not, but at the same time, Dan Campbell's doing a hell of a job in Detroit. So they underestimated that. And now, are we going to because the worst thing that could happen, even worse than hiring Thomas Brown and him not working out, to me, the even worse thing that could happen is him being a good head coach, but for another team. Him
Dan Campbelling somewhere else.
Right. And imagine if he's the head coach for Shedeur Sanders next year, and they, he has like a renaissance year, like, and that's going to be even harder, I think, for Bears.
I think Shadeur's dad is going to be his coach next year.
Man, I'd love for Deion Sanders to come to the NFL.
By the way, I called that like months ago, and everybody thought I was an idiot. And I'm like, he's going to end up being the coach of the Dallas Cowboys. Like, I felt coming into this season, this was something that I said, is everybody loves to go through my predictions. They look at, like, they see a good one. They're like, nope, you're an idiot. Like a good one. Like, oh, broken clock is right twice a day, like whatever. And then they did like, oh, you thought the Bears would win 12 games. And I'm like, well, the process was good. Matt Eberflus let me down. I had the Dallas Cowboys not winning. I had the Denver Broncos winning. I had all this stuff. And people are like, yeah, but you're still an idiot. You're like, okay, there's just no, like, even this week, I'm spending too much time on this. I'm going to go back. I thought that Shedeur Sanders, I thought Deion was going to end up being the coach of the Cowboys. I thought that the fact that the Cowboys didn't spend any money in the offseason was just kind of like, you know what, we're going to let Mike McCarthy sink or swim. And if I get rid of him, I'm going to bring in Deion, probably draft Shedeur, and then find a way to get rid of Dak Prescott, or let Dak Prescott play quarterback for a year and then get rid of him.
Or I said to Briggs and Brown, like, what about the New York Giants? Deion's the head coach in New York with Shedeur. I could see it. College, his college coaching opportunities will always be there for him as the master recruiter that he is. And everybody's like, well, he wouldn't have just brought in this top quarterback recruit if he planned on leaving. All college coaches do that.
They all do that.
So if he has an opportunity to coach his son in the NFL, he's going to take it. I agree with you there, Adam. And that's because you're a genius, and everyone, genius is never appreciated in its time.
I was going to say, you come in the room and you're like, my math looks good on this 12-win season. And someone goes, if you put the flus into the math, and you're like, I'll be right back.
That was a misstep on my part, is having too much faith.
You know what? I'm so sick of everybody victory lapping on the fact that me and Adam and everybody else isn't going to hit on their win-loss prediction. This team should have 8 wins right now. They have 4. They should have beaten Washington. They should have beaten Green Bay. They should have beaten Minnesota. No excuses to lose to the New England Patriots, who were down 35-0 yesterday at one point. They lose to the Colts, and Anthony Richardson might as well have had a blindfold on during that game while he was throwing the football. So I don't want to hear it. Sorry for expecting the absolute minimum from this coaching staff. I understood the flaws that this roster had, and I still put that into my calculation on how the Bears could get to 10 wins. And I thought I was being, conservative with that pick.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. And the coaching staff, as I almost cursed, the coaching staff is the reason this team is being held back. Jalen Johnson was just on 6-70 the score, saying the exact same thing. Players know, I know, and if you don't know, or Ryan Poles don't know, then you guys got to wake up and understand that this is all Matt Eberflus's fault, and that's what helps me sleep at night.
Who do you think is the account Sears Tower? Who's been like?
I don't know, but it's great.
The Sears Tower return.
I really like. I know people be like, this guy, whatever. Like, those are the accounts that always know. Because with the Angels, there's a guy named Hot Dog Bob who gets everything right. As a matter of fact, he not only got a lot of the Angel stuff right, he was actually the dude who had Harbaugh to the Chargers, which I know wasn't like a huge leap, but had that well ahead of everybody. And so Sears Tower is somebody's burner account who is having a lot of fun. My only hope is that person slips up and then accidentally tweets from their real account. Like Courtney Cronin's all like, oops, that was my real account. No, it's not Courtney. I'm just kidding. I'm just trying to but like somebody was, because like somebody knows, like all this stuff is coming through, and I told it, like I am eating that up. Like the whole thing with Ian Cunningham wanting to fire Eberflus, I'm like, yeah, I
Mhm.
totally buy that. There's nothing about that sounds false.
Yes.
Like, I am so in on that.
Yes. Make
keep
sure,
it going.
just real quick, we'll get back into Sears Tower Talk, but become a diehard at allchgo.com/diehard when you sign up, and we'd appreciate you if you do. Back to the Sears Tower Talk. You're 100% right with Sears Tower. I called him Mr. Tower earlier today as I asked him a question.
We don't know that it's a guy.
Well, I
Could be
guess
anybody.
I am assuming the
How
Sears
dare
Tower.
you?
Yes,
I don't.
I mean, so you're correct in that's that's
So-
my bad. It could be, like you said, it could be Courtney, could be anybody.
It's not. We're not saying that it is.
It could be Mark It could be Mark Carmen.
Could be Mark.
Very likely to be Mark Carmen. So no, I absolutely love it. You're 100% right. The White Sox, like you said, have different people. White Sox have they go with like food names as their burner accounts, and then famously for the Chicago Cubs, they had their leaked sources. Do you remember this, Joey? Do you remember the two names with on Reddit? Wet butt 23 and Katy Perry's booty hole. And I swear this is a real thing. I hate to bring those old days back up, but this is what we're up against. But yes, Sears Tower is now putting things out there. So I like that. And
he says Sears Tower, he or she is reporting that Daniel Jones will be signing with the Vikings. This is a big litmus test for Sears Tower.
Yeah, that's
on Twitter.
That's an early.
Well, who was the guy?
Test.
And who was the guy? The dog that was fighting with your guys, right?
Oh, yeah.
He was fighting with what? Was it Tom Pelissero?
Tom and Ian,
It was Ian that was getting sick of him. And then I forget the dog's name, but he had to delete his whole account because he put his whole life on Brandon Ayuk going to the Steelers.
Yeah, that was it. I remember that one.
That was good.
There's also Prison Bob was another one for a long time.
Yeah. I remember that.
I love these accounts. Keep them going. And this is one of those things. I still believe that the Steelers and the 49ers had worked out a deal. Because if you ever find out, whenever you get an opportunity to speak to anybody who's an NFL insider, they'll be a lot of these things get agreed to. Teams get cold feet. They don't want to look stupid. They'll do something. I think the 49ers, they set their season in ruin by not trading Brandon Ayuk. I think that, the injury notwithstanding, the proper math on that was trading him because you had Ricky Pearsall. You knew that Jawan Jennings was good. That's the whole thing that shouldn't be shocking. I know this from a fantasy thing. When everything was going on, I remember being dude, I'm ready to pounce on Jawan Jennings because I think he's going to be dynamite. And that's it. They should have made that deal. The Steelers would be better off. The 49ers would be better off. It would be a lot more interesting. But the poor dog had to get out of the business after he was taken behind the woodshed for getting that one wrong, so to speak.
Right, well, I was trying. I was scrummaging around, Joey. I was scrummaging around. I can't find it in here, so I'm just gonna have to let it go. But Brad from San Francisco. Brad from San Francisco. I mean, I still have my emblem here. Don't want to.
Wait, that was you?
Wait, what?
I don't want to reveal, but Brad from San Francisco, Adam. I think we might have started a wildfire on the Sick podcast on Wednesday.
Wait, are you quoted in this?
I am not quoted in this, of course, but if you go in the comments of this tweet from Bleacher Report Gridiron, is Kyle Shanahan on the hot seat? And they all laughed at Brad from San Francisco last week, and now it's a national story this week. So I don't know.
I think there is some. It happens with these teams. I think that when you look at what Andy Reid went through in Philadelphia, where he knocked on the door a couple of times, had a lot of NFC Championship game losses. He got to the Super Bowl one time, lost to the Patriots, and ends up having to go to Kansas City, where he's obviously found some success. Some success. Look at me underselling this. Some success. Yeah, 3 out of going for 3 in a row. But it happens, with some of the best coaches. Like Bill Belichick was on his second gig, actually his third gig if you count his day with the New York Jets. Bill Parcells, had some success with other teams. It wasn't he never. Bill Parcells is like the one that's like it gradually got worse. Like he won a Super Bowl with the Giants, then he lost a Super Bowl with the who was it? The Patriots. Then he got to the AFC Championship game with the whoever, Dolphins or Cowboys, whatever it was, and it gets worse. Cowboys. But I think Kyle Shanahan would be more of the Andy Reid and less of the George Seifert if I was picking a side on this one.
Yeah, I don't anticipate him getting fired, but if he does,
stranger things have happened.
If he does and the Bears sign him, I do want all of the credit. And if the Bears do sign him, I have like 58 tweets I have to delete from last week. So, what
do you mean? I think you guys would get along.
I mean,
be like, hey,
yeah, I helped this.
It would be a ruse. You're like, hey, we pulled the ruse. Well, I can't wait to hang out with Kyle Shanahan. Maybe bros with him.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
I'll show up. I'll show up at Hallis Hall in a trucker cap myself.
Yes.
You're like, let's go.
So it'll be interesting. See how that plays out. Certainly want all the credit if that's how it does indeed play out. But I also want none of the blame as well.
Never.
Dennis Moody has a request for you, Adam. He says, Meatball, tell your boy Adam to lay off the sauce.
What does he mean?
I don't know.
What does he mean? Like with the marinara? Did I spill spaghetti sauce on me? Like, what am I doing?
It's in the beard. Oh no.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry if I got sauce. I had a meatball sandwich earlier. I apologize for that. I will tell you too. And the sauce, I don't like that inference. I'll just say out here in California, we don't need those medical cards anymore. In fact, that was the best thing we ever voted for. Like, hey, we're all doing this, right? Like, I think that us as a state that never agrees on anything, like, hey, we're all just doing this, right? Like, yeah, okay, let's just make it legal. I do hate that when I'm at every once in a while, I'll be flying from Long Beach to Midway, and I'm like, oh crap, I have something in my bag. I'm like, do I really have to throw this away? They're like, yeah, if you don't mind. I'm like, son of a, just got this. I'm not saying what it was. But
Yep, it is alcohol. No.
Yeah, it's alcohol. It's bullet bourbon.
My Bordeaux.
Yes. So, I guess I've been asking this I've been thinking about this all night too. Because I couldn't really tell on the screen, Joey, what Indiana Jones shirt are you wearing here? Because I'm a big Indiana Jones fan. I don't know how you feel about Indiana Jones, Adam.
Yeah, it's the Bears season. It's the Temple of Doom.
I'm just waiting I'm just waiting for Braggs to come out and say the fourth one's the best one.
So that's what I was about to get into.
Shia LaBeouf was the best thing to ever happen to this franchise.
Right. So there's five, right? There's five. And did you see the fifth one, Adam?
Yeah.
Don't do this to me. Don't get
Fleabag. Yeah, the Fleabag lady was amazing.
The most recent Indiana Jones, they did a fantastic job finishing that off.
Don't come after. What is Fleabag? What's her real name? Gosh dang it.
Phoebe. Phoebe Waller-Bridge.
Yeah. She was awesome. Do not step to Phoebe.
She was awesome. The fifth one was fantastic. I loved how they did like the throwback opening scene where he looks all young. So yes, my official Indiana Jones rankings is 3, 1, 5.
Wait.
Wow.
Last Crusade is the third one, yeah?
Correct.
Shia LaBeouf is 4.
3 is Last Crusade. 1, Raiders of the Lost Ark. 5 is ranked number 3 for me. 4.
You cannot be serious.
4.
Temple of Doom is so good.
It's last.
Temple of Doom is so great. Goodness gracious.
He's drinking the Kali rank.
This is so Braggs was on our show one time, and he was sitting there, and I go, hey, Greg, what's your favorite Rocky movie? And he goes, 5. And I'm like, I can't with you. He's like, 5 is the most like real boxing where he loses everything. Like, that's like, I'm like, yeah, I can't with you.
No, what I said to him was that I like made more than swingers, and
It's even worse.
It's true. It's not worse.
It's
true.
a good take, though. It's a good take. I like Made. I love Made.
Stop it.
Movie.
You know what? Made is too you can't watch it now. It's too problematic.
Yeah,
it's
so
very true.
Just like you ever what movie I used to really enjoy? It was Get Him to the Greek, and you're like, I'll never watch this film again for multiple reasons, not just one guy, multiple.
Q Harlan in the chat. Q Harlan in chat. Braggs, your Indiana Jones rankings have surpassed your Thanksgiving sucks take in terms of ridiculousness.
Wait, hold on. Do you think Thanksgiving sucks?
It's terrible, Adam.
I do too. I'm
Thank you, meatballs unite.
Yeah.
You're surrounded, Joey.
I'm sure all the whites will come out and be like, Thanksgiving's great. I'm like, of course you would think so. No, it's terrible.
Lost in the it's a day off work.
Get off work, I get to eat.
Family, watch football.
Really? How fun is it, really? And if your team's not playing on Thanksgiving, it's even worse.
Right.
Like, oh, great. I get to see the Lions have lost like 7 consecutive Thanksgiving, or 6 of them, I believe. It's always like a dog-ass game in the morning. You're like, oh, the Lions. This is before the Lions became the Dan Campbell Lions. You're like, terrible game. I'm not even I'm on the West Coast. You're like, I'm either not getting up for that one or I'm golfing. I'm going to play golf. And then it's the Cowboys. You're like, wonderful. And then if you're lucky enough, they have a decent night game. This year, it's the Packers. No thanks.
Right. All three games this year suck.
No, the first one's pretty good.
The Bears are going to get destroyed by the Lions.
No.
I'm just going to stick to that narrative because I'm upset with the Bears. Okay. And then the second game is the Giants and the Cowboys, right?
Yeah.
That's terrible. And then you got the Packers and Dolphins, and Tua hasn't won a game in the cold in forever. It's a waste of my time. They played
well in Buffalo that one playoff, but it is like, and people are like, oh, all you got to do is eat and show up. You're like, you know what? I'd rather not have that big meal and not have to see the people that I have to see. I would rather stay at home. I'd rather go to work, to be perfectly truthful. I'm bummed. Like, I have not worked the last 3 Thanksgivings, and I'm always begging them. I'm like, can I come in? Like, do you not have anything for me to do? They're like, nope, we're going to have Kyle Brandt do everything. You're like, okay, fair enough. Find something for me to do. I'm almost going to lie and be like, yeah, we got this thing on the, and I'm like, what will my family not check? Like, oh, there's the NFL Fast Channel. We're on that all day. You'll never see me. Don't bother looking it up, but I'm working all day. Go get free food from the huddle and do it that way. I don't like this holiday. I'd rather work.
Jailbreak says, I might not be thankful for the football this year. Q Harlan says, family, food, and football? What's wrong with that? Don't you guys love your families? LOL, bear down.
Let's go through that. Family. Okay. Football, like this year, no thanks. And food, like I'm really not that big of a turkey guy that it makes. I do love the stuffing. Yeah. That part of it's great. If I could just have stuffing and not have to deal with the other stuff, I'm in. If I could sit here in this studio and just have stuffing, it would be amazing.
Keith Chow in the chat says, not with Braggs on Thanksgiving, but agree that Temple is the worst indie movie. Bang. It's just like my Thanksgiving take. Everyone's like, oh, you're the only there's plenty of us that feel this way with my Thanksgiving take and my Temple of Doom take.
By the way, I'm in California. There's a lot more people that agree with the Thanksgiving take than you would know.
Exactly.
Well, so real quick on the Thanksgiving, my thing was that living in Southern California, my cousin-in-law, they'd have us over at our house, and we would go to the Campos house, and they'd have 30 or 40 people over. And Braggs, man, I was going to pitch to you, man, you need to maybe you can kind of Taco Bell up your Thanksgiving a little bit. They once made this cheese mole that I was then putting on as a gravy over turkey and mashed potatoes and a little bit extra spice and get some of the bland nature out of Thanksgiving a little bit. You can make it your own. I'm just saying not everyone does the traditional Thanksgiving the way that we always think it is.
Mm-hmm.
They do a deep fry the turkey. They do all that good stuff.
If you spend Thanksgiving with people who are here first, then yes, it probably is. It is actually more enjoyable.
Yes. So I don't know. For me, Thanksgiving is food for old people that don't have teeth. It's all a bunch of mushy crap.
Oh my gosh.
Stephen D says Braggs hates Thanksgiving because he doesn't know anybody who can cook a turkey. my mother is going to be coming to the CHGO Sports Studios on Thursday. Me and her are going to cook an entire Thanksgiving meal for me, Adam, Mark, Steven, our producer, Emma, our social girl, and my wife's going to be there. My mom's going to be there. We're going to do this Thanksgiving. We got to be at the studio. So we're doing a Thanksgiving dinner there with our CHGO family. And then we're going to find out once and for all if it is my mom's cooking.
Wait, can I come? I got to fly to Chicago.
You absolutely can come.
I wish you would have told me ahead of time. I would have done that.
You are more than welcome. Get a red eye and come out and eat some terrible Thanksgiving food and watch the Bears get their teeth kicked in by the Detroit Lions. And then we'll find out if Matt Eberflus survives to the next edition of CHGO Bears After Dark.
Ooh.
We will see.
We might be talking about a new coach.
We might be talking about a new coach. Make sure you check in always with the Sick Podcast as Adam puts out shows almost every other day. It feels like you've got 3 or 4 shows you're running there. I'll be back with you on Wednesday, Adam.
Yes, sir.
So I'm excited to talk some more Bears football with you as we are on Thanksgiving Eve. And other than that, Joey, you got anything else for us? What do you got? You got anything else for us?
Yeah, I'll empty the chamber. Indiana Jones 13245 is my alignment on that. I actually ride for the first hour of Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. That's just what I will say. And my only thing with 5 is that when you go back, that Spielberg cadence of that back and forth a little bit, just the quippy nature of it all is kind of missing just a little bit from 5 because it's a little more ruminative. He's a little bit older. So 1, 3, 2, 4, 5. That is my list. That's it, guys. Happy Thanksgiving. I just feel like walking out of this conversation in the spin zone that maybe you said a Dark Knight thing earlier. Maybe this is the Bears season that we don't deserve, but the Bears season that we need right now. Justin Fields was awesome, and we lost 10 in a row. We get the number 1 pick. We trade the number 1 pick. Last year, not saying Justin Fields, that's a separate thing, but we get the number 1 pick again to land Caleb Williams, and maybe this is the year where Caleb Williams is awesome, and we get out from under Matt Eberflus before it's too late, and we can start anew. So maybe this is year 4 of the maybe we're better off in the future tour for the Chicago Bears, and I'm going to land on that. Thanks for always having me, guys. You guys are awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. You do a great job. We'll see everybody here in the chat. Make sure you tune in on Thursday, pregame, postgame. Briggs and Brown will be on Friday, so we'll keep the content rolling for you. We'll be back tomorrow at 1 p.m. Central. Adam Hope, Mark Harmon, and myself will be probably discussing more of this Thomas Brown stuff. I know that Adam Hope teased his short list of coaches that he already is in having consideration for the head coaching job for the Chicago Bears. So some different things to talk about before we get to game day on Thursday. But until then, appreciate everybody tuning in. Hit that like button. Thank you once again to Joey Christopoulos and, of course, Adam Rank. We'll see you guys next week on Monday night with Corey Wooten, and we'll see if Matt Eberflus survives all the way till then. I'm thinking maybe he won't, but we shall see. But regardless, Bears fans, always keep your head up and always bear down.
We all silly like the mayor.